2017's over. If you had something flashing back there, if you had a little bit of greased lightning, electrocuting your insides, then that's over. If you had something, I bet you had something good happen too. Everybody looks at 2017. I see all these things, so glad it's over. Dude, 2017, that shit was wild. I've been alive for 37 of these things, of these spatial roundabouts. I've been alive for 37 of these outer space disco spins. And I'll tell you this, that this one was the wildest. People are feeling lit up. People are feeling erect in their souls, I think, fired up. People want this or don't want that. People are, standing up for this and, uncertain about that. Last year made me think. Last year made me think about who I was. Made me think about who I was, man. You had a lot of stuff last year. You had the election going on. It made you think, like, what's your line in the sand for what America is and what America isn't, and what you want the future in this country to look like and who represents that. Even if you don't think, and I'm not a fan of politicians. I think the past, I'd probably say maybe 30 years in politics have been sold out in America, where it's just big businesses. These politicians are just puppets. But it's like we had this past year where at least you had to kind of pick a side in your heart a little bit, or you had to see, when you can see through the cracks now of these people. You can see how grimy and gritty these people get to get this office, and how much of an egomaniac you have to be to live, I bet, in that whole political world. But it made you stand up last year and think. You had the Black Lives Matter that was abundant last year. It made you think, man. Some people were like, yeah, well, fuck it, this. And some other people were like, well, what are you kneeling for? You're at your job. Do your job, I don't call, I don't, stop by Starbucks to ask the barista how they feel about something. I stop by Starbucks to get coffee, So I stopped by the NFL to get football. That it's an escape from, the callings and the questions of society. But last year it was inflicted. Everything was on top of the other thing. There was no walls. There was no separation. Everything was flooding into everything else. And it was tough. There were some weeks there where I just couldn't friggin' stand just the media, how the media just has so much blood on their hands but takes no accountability. There were times where I couldn't stand how the lack of empathy. There were times where I couldn't stand it. But it just made me question. It made me question, well, do I have racism in me? You had the woman gate at the end of the year, and I'm going to call it woman gate, but you had, this, and all year you had this, this fire by a lot of feminists. And look, feminism, I support a hardworking woman getting what she wants in the world. I support a woman not having to feel like they don't matter, and not having to feel like they don't have any value. I support anybody. I want anybody to feel that way. But then there's also a band of straight up man haters out there who don't want anything good for men, who want to be evil, and who don't even want to acknowledge the beauties of women, some of the natural beauties of women, being able to make children and be able to, have the ability to mother. It's just women that just want to make money. And dude, if you asked me honestly, as a soul, not as a man, but if you could make money or if you could be a mother, create something with your body, dude, I'd be a dang mother. All right, I'd be a mother with a mustache, though, you know what I'm saying? I'd still keep my manhood. But it made me question, that whole, and it's still going on. I'm not saying it stopped, but there was a lot of like stoking of the fires, asking us last year who we were, who we are, and it made me think. Do I look at women? Do I treat women a certain way? Have I always, if I do, where does it come from? Is it because of a relationship I have in my past, in my family? When a woman talks, am I listening to her differently? Am I looking at her differently? It made me ask myself these things. It made me ask myself about race, racism, about where do I have views? If I'm walking past, the town I grew up in, it was black and white. So my history with a lot of race and a lot of the racial issues in America are black and white. So I would think, do I listen if I'm talking to a black man, or if I'm meeting a new black friend, do I have certain views or certain do I feel different than if I'm meeting a white person? It made me ask myself some questions, and I like that. Some people don't want to feel some of that discomfort of asking themselves questions, and that's fine. That's fine if you don't want to, but I don't think you have anything to lose by doing it. And I think even though 2017 was wild and it was fiery, and Trump won office, but look, I'll say this, dude. That was the most or that was 2016 that he won or whatever, but he got inaugurated. That was one of the most savage things ever. That was gangsta. That dude snuck in, Mr. Steal Yo office. Because there was surely a moment when everyone was riding down the street after Trump got elected thinking to themselves, man, fuck, I could be president. I could be president? Like, you want to talk about giving everybody hope? Man, again, look, the guy is certainly an egomaniac. He's an empath. He probably never was loved in his life, it seems like, if you look into the history about him and his father. He probably doesn't know about love. He probably doesn't, he's probably just has a lot of, is not very empathetic at all. But he's a dirty businessman. That's what he is. But also, that's what most of this fucking country is these days. And that's what most of politics is these days, is dirty businessmen. So am I surprised that he ended up there? I'm not at all. I am not at all. And I think he captured some of the I don't want to say the poor white vote, but just, dude, white people have been looked down upon so much. When you're poor and white, dude, the only thing you have a lot of times is, your belief in America and religion, and Hollywood beats those things up, So I think Hollywood kind of even ruined a lot of that vote, by just saying, just being very anti kind of the red, white, and blue idea of America, even if that's an advertised old-fashioned idea. I think Hollywood beat that idea up, and Hollywood's always, it's just, so many shows I feel like beat down on religion a lot. And when you're poor, man, trust me, look, dude, I've been right there. There were many years of my life where the only thing I felt like I had somewhere inside of me was the hope that a higher power or a God out there cared about me or loved me. So when you beat up on that kind of stuff, man, you're going to have people rebel. You're going to have people angry. And it's rocky, man. It's rocky. But 2017 made me personally think a lot. Made me think about things. And here we are, man. We're in 2018. And I'm not going to, I'm not dwelling, but we got a lot of cool stuff happening here on this past weekend.